So Dr. Davis, let's take some questions such as can the and will the will the FCC appeal?
Mr. Berg, I'd like you to speculate on that question. And then I have another question for you, a legal question from State Representative David Michel. He asks, as a state representative, can this ruling for the FCC be used as a strong argument to force the Connecticut Siting Council to go back to the drawing board for their notices of possibility of hearing in the case of homeowners who receive a package notifying them that a small cell will be installed next to their home? These notices stipulate that the hearing process is solely about structural issues, and the homeowners cannot use public health or environmental concerns based on the 1996 Telecom Act. In your view, Mr. Berg, does this ruling by the court allow the local authorities more influence and more control over siting?
I just worked on a case helping out some attorneys in New Haven dealing with a homeowner and a Verizon installation outside her house. And I must say, we lost that in front of Pura, and I'm hoping they're going to appeal it to the Superior Court in Connecticut. They completely ignored the expert testimony that we provided. I'm not impressed with how Pura handles these things. They're totally overwhelmed. So this decision itself, I don't know what impact will have. The guidelines still remain in effect at the moment. The preemption issue still remains valid under the Telecom Act. I mean, that hasn't changed, and that's still a difficult thing to deal with respect to health and environmental concerns regarding the siting of a facility. We have other arguments we use there, aesthetics, neighborhood aesthetics, character. If there's a zoning plan in town, you can use that and say it should be in an industrial zone, not in a residential neighborhood. Pura, they have a right of way proceeding, and Pura controls its, where the right of way. So I don't think this decision by itself really affects that. I'd like to speak to the representative if he reaches out to me. With respect to the FCC appealing this decision, I tend to doubt it. The Supreme Court, in its current makeup, is hostile to the idea of deference to agency decision-making. So you have a number of members of the court that would love to cut back on the deference given to agencies. So I think they'd be loath to go up to the court and have agency deference narrowed tremendously by this court. So I don't think the FCC is going to take a shot at that personally.
For information, Pura is the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority in Connecticut. And like a lot of these local authorities, it's overwhelmed and does not have any expertise in public health at all. So that's part of the problem, is that people are speaking different languages. And for example, the FCC itself does not employ a full-time health expert. They have almost no experts at all in the fields that are relevant here. So what we have to recognize is that there is a problem in the way the regulatory system has been set up right now. The FDA as well lacks real expertise in this issue. And that is why we are calling for the new FCC to bring in independent experts, but also to consult more broadly. The court found that there was no evidence that the FCC had actually consulted with relevant agencies. There's an interagency task force on radio frequency radiation, which I briefed with scientists. We had standing room only briefings at the FCC, and yet they were not consulted when it came to this decision. So there is a lot of room for improvement here on the part of the federal government, but I want to echo what Professor Hugh Taylor said, is that you should not wait for the federal government to issue its ruling here. 25-year-old safety standards are obviously not relevant to setting approaches and guidelines for technologies that Professor Benny Shai indicated are using systems that didn't even exist 25 years ago. So in answer to several of the questions, we will make the recording of this press conference available online as soon as possible afterwards. Certainly you're free to share it with any of the relevant legislators who are looking for information.